Hey everyone, thank you so much for hanging in there for a few minutes. We were setting up. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the platform is a little slow today. It looks like everybody's logging on to work remotely. We hope you all are doing well and, everyone's lives are going smoothly right now. We're here with Dean. Hey, Dean,
Hola,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm always
So
good.
well, that is good, good, good. So, oh, yep, there are tons of folks working from home, which is, it's great that we have those capabilities. Sonia just came in. So, this is a Q&A free for all. You can ask Dean any sourcing question you have, and Dean, can I promise that you'll solve it?
You can promise I'll give it my best shot
There we go.
because with my
Okay.
luck, somebody will say, "Hey, Dean, I need to find a Java developer with Hadoop and an SSI and a top secret security clearance. Oh, and by the way, they need to live on the top of the Himalaya mountains." So, yeah, that ain't happening.
So we're going to put in parentheses, can probably solve it,
We'll
and
try.
do yes, our very, very best. While everybody else is logging on now that we've started, we just want to let you know that you are in listen only mode. So this is a Q&A free for all. You can ask your questions, but we can't actually hear you. Please use the questions panel in your sidebar of your GoToWebinar panel. Anything you ask, I'll relay over to Dean. If we can't get to all your questions today, feel free to send them to ashley@recruitingdaily.com, or Dean, is your email open to questions?
Of course.
Okay, I'll paste that into the chat.
Yeah,
Also,
paste
please,
my Hotmail in. Okay, look, stop. You don't need to paste anything. If there is a recruiter sourcer on this call and you can't find my contact information, yeah, that's a problem because I'm pretty easy to find. So you guys shouldn't need her to do that. Just Google my name. My very first thing that comes back will have my email address.
that's the Dean we know.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
So,
I try to make myself easy to find so people can ask questions.
well, thank you very much. And oh, another note, please share. Use the R Daily hashtag to share all over social media. Just because we've started does not mean people can't join. So we'd love to see all of your colleagues and friends log on with us. Also, you will receive a copy of this video after the webinar is over. So please keep an eye on your inbox for an email from info@recruitingdaily.com. It will not come straight from GoToWebinar. So you'll receive an email from GoToWebinar first, then an email from Ryan Leary, info@recruitingdaily.com. Okay, I am going to shush. We have questions coming in like crazy. Keep sending them, and I'll relay those to Dean as we go. Are you ready to get this started? I have a feeling it's going to be pretty busy.
Sure, go for it.
All right, let's see here. Let's go from the very, very top. I'm going to have to actually expand my questions panel. That's how many are in there right now. So, David asks, finding contact, ooh, let me expand it again. So finding contact information is one of the biggest needs from a tool that sourcing uses. I utilize Swordfish, Profit, Hire Tools, Zap Info, Lucia. What are some of the other freemium tools that you are aware of that we should try?
Okay, so if I understand everything you said correctly, you try Swordfish, Zap Info, Hire Tool, and I think there was one or two others. I didn't hear Seek Out.
Lucia and Profit.
Thank you. I didn't hear Seek
Yeah,
Out.
no seek.
I didn't hear Luxo. And Luxo just came up with something called Luxo Source, which is a sourcing tool, but it has a Chrome extension, which will help find contact information as well. So I didn't hear either of them. I also did not hear Numera. Um, and if you're dealing with people on GitHub, I didn't hear GitHub email, which is a really simple thing to find email addresses. So there's a couple of others just to go off the top of my head. Engage Talent has a Chrome extension that can find contact information. And then if you're somebody who doesn't mind doing a little work, and I do mean a little work, I mean, there are freemium tools out there. Like as an example, here's a tool, Advanced Background Check, and I'm picking on myself, not because I'm easy to find or hard to find, but just because I don't want to show other people's contact information. And I do Kent, Washington. I'm right there. And if you see, go to the full information, there's a phone number that's right, that phone number's right, that phone number used to be right, that email used to be right, that email is right. That's my brother's email. Ha ha ha. And then that's my email. That's my email. So there are some free tools out there. So besides that particular one that I just showed you, there's also another one which I use a lot right now, which is called True People Search, which is basically almost the same exact scenario. So there are a plethora of ways to find contact information out there. Um, if you had bought my book on OSINT, there was a bunch of stuff in there. I'm finding them. But more importantly, if after buying my book on OSINT, you buy the latest open source intelligence techniques books by Michael Basil, in there you'd get access to this, which is basically a cornucopia of sorts of tools that can help you find email addresses, validate email addresses, phone numbers, pretty much anything. So as an example, if I put in my name here, and granted my name does have 2 words in it, but most tools don't see it that way, and I populate, I can now search all these places at once or individually. So there's True People Search, and there's the choices. And because I didn't put it in the location, but here I am right there. And if I open that up again, phone numbers, emails, the whole shebang. Now, what's cool about this particular download that you get, but you can only get it if you buy his book, but before buy his book, buy mine so you understand what OSINT really is, because his book is a little more advanced. Mine's for beginners and specifically for recruiting. And you can actually make changes to this tool to add things that you want. Like as an example, Email Sherlock was not part of the tool. I added it myself. I've already made this version is mine. So the one you would get is a little bit different than this. Um, but because I've added a lot of tools, I've taken away some tools that don't work anymore. I've already modified. It's not super hard to do. But there's just a few examples of ways to find contact information. Not to mention, and what's wrong with just Googling somebody's name? You might be surprised. Google Dean Da Costa, Kent Washington. You might be surprised. I know my information's out there, but mine's easy. But I mean, you'd be surprised how easy it is. The other alternative to all of this is, since you guys are wanting this, is to go to the SSAR page and go to the first page and go to the right. It says phone, email, people lookup, and there will be a plethora of sources to find contact information. All sitting there, nice, pretty easy and simple. Next. Hello.
Well, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So Matt asks, he says, I've been trying to boost job postings on Facebook page, but Facebook is rejecting the ads. Are they forcing me to purchase a job posting instead, which is much more expensive than boosting?
No, there's something in the ad more than likely that is right now Facebook is being uber careful because of the election and all the information out there that's just not right. And then now you add in the virus and all the disinformation that's out there. So they're being super, super uber careful. Um, and so what you need to do is look at the ad, find out what it is. There's something there that's triggering them. I would even go so far as to recommend maybe contacting them directly and find out what it is. But I've heard of this before, and usually there's something in there, a word, the way something's worded, that's making them question things. I don't know if you're aware, but they have taken down a lot of political stuff over the last couple of weeks that they felt was disinformation. And so, unfortunately, due to the times we live in, the fact we are a social society, and with great power comes great responsibility, to quote Spider-Man, social media is a great power. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who do not have great responsibility. They take advantage of it. So that's what's going on. I've seen it a few times. I've helped a few people. If you want to send me the job description, I'll look at it and tell you what I think it could be. But truth be told, you're better off just contacting Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so are you ready for the next?
Of course.
Sam says, can you cover a little about start.me and how to best use it?
Oh, the start.me pages. Well, so on my YouTube channel are a series of videos on it. But with that said, the start.me pages are a series of pages that I have created and I maintain to help bring anything and everything to do with staffing and sourcing and recruiting, which is what SSAR stands for, to you. So this way you guys don't have to continually say, what's the best tool to find this? And then 2 minutes later, ask it, somebody else asks it. It's just to make it simpler for you guys. So when you are on, when you decide to find, when you get a start.me page, the first thing you got to understand is you do not want to make a copy of the start.me page. Let me sign in. You want to follow it. And the reason is if you copy it, that's great. You'll have it and that's perfect. But any additions I make to it, any new things I add, which I do daily, you won't get. You'll only get what's on it as of that moment. So you want to follow the page. By following it, you'll be able to bookmark it. And when you go in it, anything that's new will be there. I haven't added anything today, but I have a list of things to add. And when I add new stuff, I always put dates next to it. Which page? Oh, I'm not on the right page. That's my personal one. Let me get on. Okay, so when I add new stuff to the page, I'm always going to put a date next to it, so that you know it's new. So if you just come back, see 315, 222, 217, 210, whatever. And if you hover over them, there's not all of them, but probably 75% of them will have something about the tool a little bit, just to give you an idea what it is and what it can do. So this way you know. If the tool was given to me from somebody else, it'll also say courtesy of, so they get their props. You know how I found out about it, because Lord knows I can't keep up with everything. Um, what I typically do if I'm looking for something, since there are, is I do a control F and just search. So if I'm looking for GitHub stuff, I'll just do a control F, type in GitHub, give it a second or two, because there are a lot of links. There's between the 4 SSAR pages, there's well over 10,000 links and another 2,000 plus stagnant things, which is basically a list of people to follow, a list of books you might want to buy, that kind of stagnant stuff that doesn't really require links. So you're gonna have to give it a second or two, and GitHub's right here, by the way, so I don't even need to search for it, but give it a second and it'll start finding GitHub stuff. Like in this case, eventually it'll come down here and you'll see all this stuff to help you with GitHub. It does take a moment, and since I'm sharing my screen, it could take longer, because the sharing of the screen does eat up resources, which slows everything down. In addition to the SSAR pages, you got a search engine Utopia, which has a custom search engine Utopia, which has about 600 custom search engines. Then you have a search engine Utopia, which has got about 800 search engines from around the world. And then there's links to a video sourcing resource toolbox that Aaron Matthews put together, and then a trying to remember what that's for. That's her Reddit tools. She's a Reddit expert. And then if you bought my book, you'll have access to my OSINT start.me page links as well, because I have 3 or 4 of those in there too. But you can only get the link by buying the book. It was, yeah, don't ask. So there you go. But that's what the idea is behind it. And I put new tools on there all the time. In fact, right now, this is a current list of all the tools I have to add, and I'm adding them a little bit at a time. Like the next one's going to be this Gmail marketing tool, but it'll go under the Gmail tag, which I believe is on page 2. Yeah, I just got, if you look in the Facebook SourceCon page, that's where I let people know that I have updates. I just got through going through all the different links to make sure they're still good and deduping it. Yeah, and it's free. I don't charge for this. I just do it because I don't have a life now. I do it because I don't want people to have to deal with what happened to me when I got my first recruiting job out of the military, and that was being thrown to a computer and say source, and no one training me or teaching me or showing me. This gives you access to everything. So that's basically what the
So
start.me pages are.
cool, thank you. Megan asked, and I know you covered this to an extent, but just to make sure we're completely clear, how to gain access to this. I mean, do you
To
have
the
a link or
start.me
anything
page.
that we?
No, all you
Yes,
need is the
yes.
link. All you need is the link, and you really only need a link to any one of the SSAR pages, because this thing here, which gives you links to all the others, are there. In fact, not only that, but you get my email address right on top. Now, that was given so if people find something on there that doesn't work anymore, they can tell me, or if they come up with a tool I don't know about, they can tell me, but it really ends up being people asking questions. Um, and the big thing here, keep in mind, this is very important. This is the best tool on the market, and it's completely free. Best tool on the market. Your brain, best tool, always will be. There's nothing any of these tools do that I can't do without them. They can just let me do them a lot faster. Anything that has 2 stars is a favorite tool of mine, and I'm way behind on naming my favorite tools. But you can see a lot of them here. Um, I'm way behind because things have changed, and I just haven't had time to go in and start naming all my favorite tools. Um, but yeah, all you need is that link. And like I said, if you go on the Facebook SourceCon page, not where Tom Brady's deciding he's not going to come back to the Patriots, and you come, which I don't give a flip about. Wait till it loads. Facebook loads so slow sometimes. In fact, I'm going to be sneaky as heck and get out of that particular browser for Facebook.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the bottom as this question has to do with your page. Dan says, you obviously find and discover a lot of links, stuff, which websites/feeds do you use or regularly
Right.
read or subscribe to find all these tools,
So right here
besides
is where,
Intel techniques?
yeah, right here is where you is where I'll post. So normally I would write this new stuff added, and I'm only typing it because I'm about to add something new. Since you guys want to see how it works, I'll tell you exactly how it works. Um, First thing I do is get out of that, and then I go up here to my list of tools. I've already gone through anything new today that I'm aware of, and I'll answer that question in a minute. And I'm going to open this. I've already checked this tool out, so I already know what it does, and it's a Gmail tool. And so what I will do is I will now look up Gmail. Now on the first page, there's going to be a bunch of them, but they're general Gmail tools. I think it's on SSAR2. I think. Don't quote me on that though. Yeah, you see all these. There's 43 mentions of Gmail on here, but this particular tool, I don't want to go there. Those are all Chrome extensions, so this particular tool doesn't go there because this is not a generic Gmail tool. This is a specific Gmail tool. And okay, yeah, just like I thought, it's not on page. It's not on the first SSAR page. So that means it's either on the second or the third. And yes, you do see genealogy. Genealogy sites are cool because you usually can find contact information with them. It's one of the reasons why I like genealogy sites. It had my unlisted home number on it, which is pretty cool considering it's unlisted. I'm not waiting for the search to find it. I'm actually going to go and try to find it myself because I kind of have an idea. I thought it was on page 2. It could be 3, but I know it's on the right side and it's about halfway to 2/3 down. And it'll say G Suite or something like that. Okay, maybe it is on 3 then. See, you have so many pages, even I can't keep them all straight. The answer to the question about what I use to do this is quite simple, actually, for me anyway. I have a thing called Feed Demon, and I follow all these feeds. And usually the beta list and the product hunt are the ones where I get the majority of my stuff from. I'm not sure why background checks came up. I'm not interested in background checks, but thanks for sharing. But so that's the answer to the question. I just have a bunch of them I follow, but mainly it's the main ones I follow. Let me go back there. The main ones that I follow that gets me where I want is beta list and product hunt. In addition to that, though, I also have um, find tools. I have a list of other places I go to look for tools. There's product hunt. There's Carmen's recruiter hunt thing. Her and I go back and forth and share and borrow from each other for different tools. So there's a boatload of them here I keep an eye on. I usually once a week I'll go through them. I let the feeds bring me most of it because it's just simpler and easier, and because I'm pretty busy and it's kind of hard for me to do everything. Like I said, I don't have any help with this. This is something I do on my own. We'll put it there then. This is something I do on my own. So, and like I said, I just do it to help people because I want to help people, and that's what we do. And the reason why I
So
don't need to check this tool out more thoroughly is I already have. If it's up here, I've already checked it out. So I don't need to check it out again. If it's over here, I have to check it out still. I haven't decided for sure. I'm in limbo whether I really want to use it, whether I think it belongs there or not. So, and that happens a lot more often than not because it takes time. I don't just say, wow, a new tool and it does this. Yeah, let's just grab it. I actually go in, I play with it, I read about it just to make sure I think it's legit because some of the tools aren't. Some of the tools are nothing more than a way to grab your address book. So I'm pretty careful with that, especially and with Chrome extensions as well. There's a way to know before you install a Chrome extension what it's going to do. You just got to be willing to do it to check it out. So I hope that answered the question. This
Thank you
coffee
so much.
sure
And I
beats me
typed
up.
everything I cool. I typed everything I could into the chat and sent it to everybody. So if you have any other questions, just send them over if I need to clarify anything. Okay, so Kristen says, I would love to hear any tips that you might have for sourcing RNs.
I have a question. Kristen who?
I don't, I can't give you her last name. Unless you're okay with it, Kristen.
Okay, you do
You
realize
just
if I
have to
really
let me
wanted
know.
to know, I could find out, right?
I know, but she
I'm
says
just
Kristen Swaffer.
being okay. That
There you go.
that
Thanks,
I
Kristen.
always ask because I know a lot of people or and stuff, and so certain questions automatically get my attention because there are certain people I ask them. Okay, so for me, RNs can be done a multitude of ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a smart aleck just because I can, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of this information right here, and I'm going to put in. And here are a whole bunch of people on Facebook who say they're registered, they're RNs. Literally that simple. That's Facebook. Now, if you want to add in a location, you could do that. If you want to really be a smart aleck, which is something I love doing, you could also do this. Up, I see an error, error, error. There we go. Now I got registered nurse or registered nurse in Seattle. I don't like the string personally, and the reason is because it's Facebook. It's not the string. It's Facebook is really lame when it comes to certain things. Um, they make it really hard to search. So a lot of times what should work doesn't, and you have to come up with an alternate. Like there's a better version of it, but probably what I would just do RN and then do registered nurse separately, which I'm pretty sure would get you a lot more unless I misspell register, which you never know with me. Spelling is not my strong suit. I wasn't hired to spell. Register, that looks right. Yeah, 917. So there you go. And I probably did misspell that, but that's one way you can find registered nurses. If you go on the SSAR page, there's a whole area for healthcare, and there's a bunch of places to where you can do registered nurses. One thing I do like, one thing that's really pretty cool that you can do, and I know you're probably going to say, well, I'm not sure how that really helps me. Um, come to contact, there's a custom search engine built for contact out. Yeah. And if you put in RN, you're going to get registered. So now I know what you're going to say. Well, that doesn't help me. You have to pay to get it. Well, really, let's think about this for a minute. Her name is Teresa Stafford. She lives in Austin. You know where she works. So finding a work email is a piece of cake. But most importantly, let's think about this. The first part of her email is a T. Wow, Teresa. The last D. Oh, wow, Stanford. And then it's at me.com. I will bet you and I'm 99.9% sure I'm right. Her email is either tstanford@me.com or Teresa Stanford or Teresa.Stanford. One of those three. And you can just use all three, test them, and you'll figure out which ones are. But more importantly, who really gives a flip? You've got what you need. You can get her work email, piece of cake. And I worked with Zap Info to where Zap Info will now actually extract all this info for you and try to find, and they found their LinkedIn profile already. And I haven't even tried to enhance to find emails. But look at all the info it gets you. So there's an example. And I don't pay for Contact Out. I'm not even signed in. I don't have a paid account. So there's a way you could search for RNs that might be different than you might normally do it. Another way to search for RNs that you might not have thought of, part of it because you probably don't, you may not have a paid account, is X-raying into Zoom info. Now, first thing you guys need to understand, we're talking about X-raying. X-raying is a very low form of hacking. Hacking is simply getting information from a place in a way other than the way it was meant to be gotten. That's what hacking really is when you get down to the nitty gritty simplistic definition. And that's what X-raying is. So here is a whole bunch of registered nurses, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, let's get in and see. And what you're going to get is a list. Now, again, let me remind you, I'm not signed in. I don't have an account. To get this info, you have to pay. But why would I do that when I have his name? I got his title. I got where he lives, and I know where he works. Why would I do that when all that information is available to me? And more importantly, Zap Info can grab all of it, and I can extract, just so you guys know, let's check none. I'll just grab the first two. I'm going to extract full records, extract. It's going to tell me how long do I want to wait between them. I'm just going to say 4 seconds. And what it's going to do is it's going to go in and open each individual profile. And you'll notice there was a phone number on there that was viewable. That's probably a work number would be my guess. Usually that's the only thing that's viewable. Oh, well, headquarters. Okay, so I've just extracted both records. Let's view them. And I've already got emails for both of them for free and LinkedIn profiles for free. So that's just off the top of my head quickly, some places to go. The other thing is keep in mind, registered nurses are different than regular nurses. Every state has a state health department, and on there, if you are a doctor or a registered nurse, you have to be listed. They have to. And the reason is because people need to check to make sure you're legit, because Lord knows there's a lot of fake ones out there. So you can go to that site and you can scrape the entire site. Usually it has their name, it usually has their title, it usually tells you where they work. And like I said, if you know where they work, you got a work email is real easy to do. And then that gives you more enough information to cross reference, try to find personal information and everything like that. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much. And if it didn't, if you have any additional questions, just send them through. Okay, you ready for the next?
Always.
This is from Matt. How would you recommend using Instagram to broadcast jobs specific to civil engineering professionals in the US?
Well, first of all, I'm not a big Instagram user. I'll be honest. I had an account, don't use it much. The only thing I do in
No
Instagram really is
selfies.
uh, more of a pain than it was worth to me. Um, I use Instagram to source. I don't use it so much to post jobs. But like with any site, you need to target it. Like as an example, if I'm going to go ahead and do something, say with Pinterest, which I do have an account with, and I wanted to try to advertise a job or do anything with a job, and since Pinterest is more of a picture thing than anything, I would probably get a picture of something relative to uh, what was it he's looking for again? The job again? Remind me.
Civil engineering.
Okay, I would probably get a picture that would
Just double check
definitely.
that real.
Yeah, I would get a picture of something that would resonate with a civil engineer and use that. And usually you get to put a little bit of data under it and come up with something that would grab their attention. Posting a job is like emailing. You've got to make it interesting. You've got to grab people's attention and you can't be generic. You know, you can't say, hey, if you want to work for this company, click here. Okay, really? That's it? That's it. I mean, that's not going to get people's attention because, frankly, that's stupid. That's simple. You got to come up with something, a hook, something to get their interest. And so you need to do your research and find out what types of things get people's attention. And that's what you need to use. And I'm going to give an example. And this is not about posting a job, but it's still appropriate because it's just about making things attention. A long time ago, I was working for Microsoft and we wanted to hire somebody with a particular skill set and certification. There were like five in the world that had it, and four were way too expensive. And the fifth, he wouldn't reply to anybody. They finally asked me to see what I could do, and I said okay. And I did research on the guy and found that he was a comic book collector. So I reached out to him, and I'm a comic collector. As a comic book collector, we struck up a conversation. Long story short, I don't want to get into it, but about 3 weeks later, he started. Same thing holds true with jobs. Back when I worked for a company before Microsoft, we were having job posting issues. And one of the things we were looking for was we really needed job developers, but at the time Java was really new. There weren't a lot. And so I did research, found out C++ people can learn Java fairly quickly, usually 2 to 3 months max, and they can become very good at it. And so I started saying, okay, let's target our posting to C++ developers, but not just say, do you want to come to work for us? Let's target as an opportunity to learn the new upcoming language and take their skill set forward, because C++, is an old, well, that is an older language. And so we target it, and then we went to specific places: C++ user groups, news groups, very specific targeting. Um, so like if I was going to do it and I was going to try to do something on Meetup groups, I would target those. So when you're on Instagram, you and I'm, like I said, I'm not an Instagram expert. I'm just going based on what little bit I do know. You want to make sure you do your research and you're targeting it correctly. The job ad and the job placement. It's all about targeting correct. Even on Facebook, it's got to be targeted correctly. It does you no good if you look for a job developer to post a job in Python, in a Python group, or post a job where you talk about Python. You're looking for Java, not Python. So do your research and target. Don't be generic. Above all, target. Let's remember there are a lot more jobs than people out there still, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon, even with the virus. I hope that answered your question. Like I said, I'm not an Instagram expert. I know enough to be dangerous, and that's about it. I know how to source out of it. I don't place ads in it.
Thank you so much. And somebody that you could reach out to about Instagram is Brian Fink. He's really good.
Yeah,
Very, very,
Brian is really good with Instagram, and I think Aaron Matthews is pretty good with
yes.
Instagram too. So you can reach out to both of them and get more info. But that's uh, my overall feeling on Instagram.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dean. So we do have a question that goes back to the previous question. I hope that we can find, I hope that this makes sense. How did around 10 mean in the prior search? Or what did
Okay.
around 10
Oh,
mean?
around 10.
Yes.
Good question. So the around is an interesting operator. Let me pull it back up here real quick. So, oh God, no, I'm not a robot, although people have disagreed with that statement. Okay, so let's look at what I wrote here. I said Seattle, and remember, we're in Google, so the gap is an assumed and. So Seattle and engineer and Amazon around 10 to present. So what I'm saying is find the words to present and look 10 words before or after for Seattle engineer and Amazon and bring me those back. Now let's look at it. I want to find one that actually has it. Okay, so there's to present right there. There's Seattle. There's engineer. My guess is Amazon is somewhere in this dot, dot, dot that you can't see. And the reason you do that is because Facebook's tough to search in. If you go into Facebook and you look up Seattle engineer Amazon, you're likely to get somebody with the last name Seattle, first name Amazon, or something like that. It's really quite, unless you're doing groups, it's really difficult to search in now. This guarantees we get the right people, because we're saying look for this, because everything is going to be based on to present. And if you look in LinkedIn, you can do it as well. LinkedIn has a particular there's particular words. I don't know if it's present or current. I think it's current, because I think they say 1976 to current or to present, whatever word it is. And if you use that to search on and go around 10 to that, they'll look before and after that to find you the information. So as an example, and let's get into LinkedIn, and I'm not going to actually conduct the search, but I'll show you what I mean at least. Um, this particular operator is very like the near operator, except the near operator is five words before and after. Around lets you designate how many words before and after. 10 is the default. But you can designate 5, you can designate 7, you can designate whatever the heck you want. Okay, guys, I get it. I got a lot of tools that show me a lot of information. I get it. Thanks for sharing. Golly. All right. So, okay, so it's present. So in this case, what I would probably do is put present in quotes and put Seattle, Amazon with present. And basically, I would find people that are currently working at Amazon with that title. So I could just as easily, and I'm not going to guarantee this is going to work because I don't remember. So, whoops. Let's see. We said present. Okay, so this way it would be present. I don't need posts anymore because we're not in Facebook. And then I need to change this to say LinkedIn. And I always put the slash in, it's just a habit. Okay, so I did something wrong. Site linkedin.com. Oh, that's what I did wrong. There we go. And voila, there you go. Same scenario. And that's how I did it. See, Seattle, engineer, and Amazon. All right there because I've searched around that word. This is the way around. Now, keep in mind, I showed you that specifically because, and now I'm going to get on my LinkedIn soapbox, because LinkedIn's expensive. And mathematically speaking, you will never see everybody in it. I don't care what kind of account you have and how good you search, you will never see everybody in LinkedIn. There are always people you will not see. And the reason I say that is because you're limited to 1,000 results. So theoretically speaking, I have 146,000 people that meet that criteria. It is mathematically impossible to see them all because I would need to know every little bitty thing about every one of them to make sure I get everybody in. It's mathematically impossible to do it. Um, so that's number one. Number two, um, and I'm a smart aleck, so keep in mind, I don't like using in-mails because I think in-mails are a waste of time. 6% reply rate, which is what LinkedIn says is good, to me is unacceptable. I would just as easily do this and go ahead and get 2,500 people with their Gmail emails, and then I could just email them. Or Hotmail or whatever I choose, or use ZapInfo or Swordfish to grab or JobJet to grab them all and find contact information for me. Um, I'm not a huge, and then the other thing is because LinkedIn is being disingenuous with saying they have 610 million people. They do not. They have 610 million profiles, but there are duplicate profiles, fake profiles, people are deceased. So that's not a true. I know a guy has 13 LinkedIn profiles. So, so that's kind of my feeling, and this is the way around all of that. And so it's really, really, really simple, and everything. And the around makes it even easier to ensure you're getting the right people. Because without it, you could be getting people that ever worked at Amazon, but they don't anymore. They worked there 5 years ago, or used to be an engineer, now they're something else, or used to live in Seattle, now they're something. But this pretty much makes it so you're going to get the right people. I hope that answered the question. Oh, I got a bunch of people want to join my network. Yay. You'll notice I don't stay signed into LinkedIn. I don't stay signed LinkedIn because if you're signed into LinkedIn, LinkedIn is monitoring you. If you're not signed to LinkedIn, they're not. And remember, they can't monitor you on your cell phone, so you can still stay signed in there to get your messages and all that good stuff. And for me, getting my messages is not that big a deal because I don't even need to worry about my phone that much because I'll just connect my phone to my computer and go ahead and view everything on my computer right here since I have a Windows machine and I can do this. And the reason why this comes in really handy is, and I'm going to show you is, I don't remember, it's this one or is it that one? Yeah, these two tools, People Search and Truth Finder, if you use them on your desktop, you have to pay for them. But on the cell phone, they're free. And now I can use them right here on my computer, right in front of me. So really, really cool that they did that. Windows can do that because it's just part of Windows. Wow, that went off on a tangent. All right. I hope I
Well, that's
answered the
good. That's
question.
good. We're learning new things. That's what tangents are good for. Okay, so I just want to let Sonia know that your question is coming next. But for now, Deborah has asked, I am sourcing for nurses in the Connecticut and Massachusetts area. How can I pull member lists from LinkedIn groups such as nursing jobs? And Dean, I've actually dropped the link to the LinkedIn group in your chat box.
Yeah, so now you're assuming I can click to read your under. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see. You may not be able to be honest with you. LinkedIn does close groups up, and there's not much I can do about that. My daughter's here with my granddaughter. Um, I have Ring, so I see it on my watch. Okay, let's see. So, request to join. I don't. Oh, okay. Well, that's only 66. That's people I'm connected to are part of the group. So this is a closed group, it looks like. And if it's closed groups, it's not quite as simple to do. So let's see. Let's play. And I'm doing this with you guys, so please don't think this is anything I've done before. I'm actually going to try to figure this out right here with you. I've done. I mean, I've had to do it before, but it's been a while. LinkedIn.com, and it's called um, Nursing Jobs Around 10 Groups. Oh, I misspelled around. And around. Hey, you. It's my granddaughter just came up. So let's see what we have here. If I'm reading this right, the problem we're running into is we're getting the wrong. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So we got 11,000 people that is evidently says on their profile they are a member of that group. So that would probably be your best chance. Now, that's probably not all of them. There's probably a lot more that are a member of that group. I don't know how many people are part of that group. Oh, yeah, I do now. 49,000. But at least you can get about a quarter of them.
We also had a suggestion come in from David that Zap Info would work for this.
That info could work for it, but it's a closed group, and so that doesn't always work. Zapinfo is the only way Zapinfo can do it is the same way I just did it. But they'll grab the people and try to find more. But the problem is, again, it's a closed group. If it's an open group, it's a piece of cake because you'll see everybody, but it's a closed group. And so you can't see everybody that's a member of the group. It's a little harder. Zapinfo will do the same thing I just did, basically. You'll go in and then well, actually, you won't do it that way. You'll go into Zapinfo and you'll go up to tools and you'll go up to the Boolean builder or the search library and see if they have a pre-built search already for that particular one or build one. But Zapinfo can't see if their people aren't there, they can't see them. If
That
there's
makes
not a
sense.
list of them here, they can't see them any more than I can. But you could request to join. And once you join, you'll have access to all of them. So as an example, um, I'm a member. I think I'm a member of this group, aren't I? Yeah, I'm a member of this group. I can see everybody in it, and I can use Zapinfo to grab them all and get contact information or swordfish or whatever I want. But you got to be a member. So I would join the group. I mean, they're not going to probably say no to you. I doubt. I mean, it's about nursing jobs. I mean, it seemed kind of productive. Hey, I have a job, and I want to join nursing jobs, but you're not going to let me. I mean, they're going to let you, and then you'll have access. And then at that point, you just use Zap Info to grab everybody, let it do its thing, and then go from there. But because it's a closed group, you're going to be limited on how many. It's the same thing in Facebook. Facebook has open groups and closed groups. Open groups, you can get everybody. Closed groups, it's a little more difficult. What you really need to do is do a search for people that say they are following or a member of the group and they'll say it right in their profile, and that's how you'll find it, which is basically the same way I just did.
Nice.
Now,
Thank you
the
so
good part
much.
is if you get 11,000 of them, that's a quarter of them roughly. Something to consider is as you reach out to them is they're probably going to be connected to the other members, and you can use that as your way of getting them. Now, anybody you're connected to or a member of a group, of course, you can say and grab. But if you're connected to them and a member of the group, then you probably already know how to get a hold of them. So I hope that answered your question. It used to be a while ago, this was really, really, really easy to do, but LinkedIn, you know, they're making everything hard.
Cool. Are you ready for the next one?
Always.
So Sonia says, so many of these sources require Chrome extensions. My company has us on lockdown. What are some ways I can get around this?
Okay, so the first question is,
So
you're
she'd like
correct.
to know, yeah.
They require Chrome extensions. Um, I don't know what your lockdown is, so that's it. But usually, what that means is you need to provide them enough information to your security department so that they can um, state whether or not it's okay to have it. I have to do that for my company. I have to say, hey, I got this extension. Here it is. Check it out. Let me know what you think. What you can do to help them make it easier, though, and this is the fun part we're about to get into. Um, Oh, wait a minute. Let me back out of this because I'm going to
Just
show you how to check out a Chrome extension and be able to tell whether or not it's relatively safe. So I am
just for
in a
reference, Dean.
yes.
Oh, sorry. She did pop in and say it's a firewall.
Oh, all you have to do is tell your networking team that you have an extension, and if for some reason they're having a problem with the firewall, they'll check it out, and if they don't see any problems, they'll just go ahead and add it as an exception to the firewall, which will let it in. That's all. But it's got to go through security. That means your firewall settings are such that they are limiting certain traffic in and out, and then all you need to do is let them know, hey, you're trying to use this Chrome extension, but it can't get through the firewall. Could you check it out and see if you can see if it meets whatever qualifications to let it in, to let it through the firewall. I would normally say just do it yourself because you have control over firewall, but this is a corporate firewall, not your personal one. So you need to get their permission. But I do want to show you something that can help you. So I'm looking at LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and I'm going to go back to this CR Excavator tool. I'm going to pop in the designation for the extension, which is this part at the end, and it pops in all this information about it, risk, and all this stuff. Now, just because you see that risk doesn't mean anything. This is the number you want. If that number is below 400, you're in good shape. If that number is above 400, you got a problem, and it probably will not get approved. But as you can see, the risk here is very minimal. You come all the way down here, and it tells you the permissions. This doesn't ask for any real permissions you got to worry about. There's no authorization. You do have some jQuery stuff, but as you can see, it's minimal. Most of it's not, it's low and medium, nothing big. And then down here it says no data yet, no data, which means there's no big deal. And then down here, here's the potential external communications: Google, LinkedIn, Chrome, but that's because you have to put it in there, and then Reportive. So basically, a LinkedIn Chrome extension communicates with LinkedIn. Wow, what a surprise. I mean, why would it do that? I mean, it's only a LinkedIn Chrome extension. I'm being sarcastic. No JavaScript files used. I mean, this particular extension is pretty safe. It also gives you ones that are related, which is pretty cool too. Saves you a lot of trouble when you're trying to find other tools that can do certain things. But that's what I do with every extension. First thing I do is I check it here, and and depending on what it says will depend on if I install it or not, because this tells me what I have to need. This will let me know if there's anything particular I need to worry about. So yeah, but in your case, you need to talk to security. List all the extensions you're interested in. Give them a list saying you're trying to use all these for your job, and explain what they do and why, and ask them if they can check them out and approve the ones that are okay to get through the firewall, which is just an exception. Something like firewall rules in play for all communication except these, which means for those the firewall won't stop them. And I'm doing pseudo talk, not actual what it really says, but you get the idea.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Are you ready for the next?
Always.
Here we go. So Charmaine says, I recruit in the IC community here in DC. What tools can I use to source candidates in this community besides LinkedIn Recruiter?
IC as in what? Can you be specific? Because an IC is something you
IC.
get at 7-Eleven and drink.
IC as in the acronym IC. Let's see. Charmaine, if you can elaborate on that, that would be awesome. And I'll pass it on.
Okay,
She
so let
says
me help you
intelligence
explain.
community.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But the reason I ask when people use acronyms is because I'm ex-military and we had a book of acronyms. There's 26 volumes. Each volume was 2 inches thick. So using an acronym with me doesn't help. It usually only narrows it down to about 80 billion possibilities. So you're talking about intelligence community, and because of who I work for, I can't discuss that. I work for Lockheed Martin, so I'm not allowed to really do that with people who are probably competitors.
Oh, she says okay. She also added
Sorry.
people with full scope poly.
Here's what I will tell you. Go on the SSAR pages and look up security clearances. There's a bunch, and the custom search engine, so there's a bunch of stuff there for you. That I can tell you, but I can't really tell you much more than that because I'll get in trouble.
Well, she said thank you.
I'm
Okay, let's
sorry. I
see.
wish I could do more, but I can't.
Gosh, Dean.
Well,
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
other than LinkedIn, it's really kind of common sense. Okay, so let's see. Is there something? Oh, you know what? There is something I can do. I just thought of something, and I can do it because I'm not going to pick what you're looking for, but you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. So that's what I'll do. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in the word hacker. What I'm doing here is I am x-raying all .org sites, not a specific site. And I'm going to pick this. And the reason I chose hackers is for a specific reason because, well, oh, excuse me, they're hackers, which is kind of interrelated. And I look for the word resume or resume, and you'll notice down here a whole bunch of like there's a Wikipedia thing, but that's an actual person. There we go. That's what I want to write there. Look at all these people, and these are all resumes of people who are hackers. Now, imagine if you instead of use the word hackers, you use the word. Okay, I gotta be careful here. Um, use the word relevant to what you're looking for. Probably would do the same thing. And I think you know what I mean. And you can do the same thing with .com and .edu. You could also do it with .gov, but it would be a waste of your time because most of the stuff you can't get to. But I think you get the general idea of what I'm talking about. So I think you'd be okay. So I think you understand. You know, in place of hacker, put in whatever you're looking for. I'm trying to. Well, I'm walking a fine line here, boys and girls. Um, so yeah, that's what I would. That's probably the biggest thing I would recommend do. Whenever you do any kind of search, even for what you're looking for, Sonia, it's look up all the permutation. Don't make assumptions. Just because you call it something doesn't mean everybody else does. Use every permutation, every acronym, everything. And you're going to find there are a lot more people out there than you think. The other thing to do is don't assume they're going to put that on their profile anywhere. A lot of people don't. Instead, target location and company. The reality is this: if I know they work for a specific company in a specific location, the odds are pretty good they have the things you're looking for.
Nice. Thank you. She said thank you very much, and she totally gets it. So let's see here. You ready for the next?
That was about as covert an answer as I think I've ever given. Go, go on.
Well, you just let us know, if anybody comes knocking on your door. Okay. So Pablo says, as a sourcer, what is the essential functionality I should look for in a Chrome extension that will greatly help me in my day-to-day work?
Well, that will depend on what the word sorcerer is a broader term than people realize. Sorcerer means different things in different companies to different people. In some companies, a sorcerer does nothing more than lead gen, just lists and stuff. In another company, they do lead gen and enhancements to the list. In other companies, they actually reach out via email. In other companies, they reach out via email or call, and they actually screen people. So the first question is, what flavor of sorcerer are you? And then when you look at that, you got to look at where are you struggling the most. So if we look at a typical sourcing life cycle, excuse me. Sorry. You have research, you got to know what you're looking for. Then you have source, then you have to get the information out, i.e., scraping. And then you have enhancement and then outreach. The question is, where are you struggling in that process? And that's what you want to focus on. So I'm a big proponent of you got to find them first. I don't care if you're the best pro talk on the phone, the best email writer. If you can't find them, it doesn't matter. And so I always have a habit of focusing first on finding tools that can help me find the people. In most cases, as you're finding them, if you do it the way I do it anyway, your research is coming at the same time. And what I mean by that is if I am looking for an Hadoop developer, I will start as broad a search as possible, meaning I'll just literally say Hadoop in resume. That's all I'll do. And the reason I do that is because I want to see as many people as possible. Because as I'm looking at their profiles, I am researching. Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, that. And then I'm like, okay, I need Hadoop with Pig, Linux, and Python. I'll learn as I go. And that's so I can do my research while I'm sourcing at the same time. So if I see somebody great, I can grab them, but at the same time I'm learning. That's me though, as a sourcer. And this is under the presumption you aren't in the intake meetings with the recruiter. So if you are, then that's a different ballgame. So when I look for extensions, I'm always looking for an extension that can help me find people first and then help me enhance second. And the reason why not scrape or download is because I have some really good scraping and downloading tools right now. I really don't need to. And more importantly than that, I know how to write my own scraper, so I really don't need to. So source and enhance, find them, and then get me more information, i.e. contact info. So when I'm evaluating tools, that's exactly what I go. And that's why when you look at the SSAR pages, the scraping and contact finding are the two biggest sections by far, because that's what I focus most on. Because those are the things that are the biggest thing that gets in our way of our doing our job. And so for me, when I look at a tool, I want to know where does it find the people? What are my limitations for searching? I.e., is it checkboxes or can I do Boolean? Does it have an AI? Is it only a LinkedIn centric tool or does it search other places? How quick is it? How accurate is it? And then when I go for enhancement tools, it's basically the same thing is how much information does it get me? Where is it getting the information and how accurate is it? If all it does is get me work emails, it's not a good tool because frankly, 90% of the time I can tell you the work email just by looking at the company they work for. It's not hard. 90% of the time it's going to be first name dot last name or first initial last name here in America. Not always, but most of the time. So it's not hard. And there are sites that will list all the naming conventions for companies in the US. And so why would that does not help me much. So the question is, can it only find me emails? Can it only find me phone numbers? Is it landline? Is it cell phone? Is it work? And where does it work? Is it only work on LinkedIn or does it work on GitHub, Stack Overflow, Facebook, Twitter, Meetup, and pretty much anywhere else? So those are all questions that need to be asked about tools. Is what does it do? Where does it work? And what are the limitations? And how does it work? You ask those. You answer those four questions, and you can pretty much tell for yourself whether it's a tool worth having or not. You can look on my board right now and see some of the things that I use a lot. I mean, I got Calendly right there. I love that tool. I got Proton Mail. This is one of the more secure emailing tools out there. I only use it when I'm sending something I don't want other people to deal with. I got company.com. This is basically an email which acts like a work email that I use when I have to sign up for a tool and they say you have to use a work email and I don't want to use my work email. I use this instead. And so every tool I have fits a specific case that I'm looking for, a specific thing I want to do. See, this particular tool I showed you earlier is security. It's to test the tool to make sure I even want to use it. These tools down here are data sets. Data sets are just large quantities of data that you can use to do certain things. An example being find somebody's LinkedIn email. I had a data set that has the list of every single email for anybody who joined LinkedIn 2015 and before. All I need is their LinkedIn member ID, and I know how to find it. So I can find it, cross-reference, and get their email. But I found it using data sets, looking for data sets like these three sites and like a few others. So you got to decide what is the tool do, where does it fit in your life cycle, and then once you've decided that, then you decide what does it do, where does it work, how does it work, and how good is it. That's it. It's actually a very simple project management. You'll find that almost everything I do is based on some part or all of a project management philosophy. I do have a project management certification, so almost everything I do is boom, 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 which is probably why I can keep
Awesome.
everything straight. And I don't
That's
mind going a
probably
little over since we started late. So
okay. I was going to say we have hit it's 2:04, right, or actually 3:04 Eastern right now. For those of you who have asked questions and we haven't gotten to them yet, we will still do our best to get to the questions. So if you have to leave, you'll still receive your answer via recording after this. And Dean, if you'd like, I can send you a copy of any questions we have left whenever you have to log off.
yeah, that's fine. Let me look at my calendar here real quick.
Okay.
No, I actually have a little bit of time.
Okay,
Although
cool,
I just
cool. Well,
although I just
a,
got a phone call from Derek Zeller, but I'll call him back. But anyway, go on.
well, we have a lot of bit of questions. So, okay, so if anybody has to log off, just know your question will be answered and you'll get it in the recording that we send you. Sam asks, are there any AI tools to decode the job description and pick the skills out?
Um, so my first question is, why would you need one? They're pretty simple. I mean, let me help you out with job descriptions. You got a bunch of blah, then you have a bunch of words telling you what they want you to do, and then you have the actual skills, which is what you really want. Then you have more blah. So I'm not sure why you would need a tool to figure that out. It's really pretty simple. Um, there are some tools. If you look on the SSAR pages under writing and job description, I believe there's a few tools in there that'll do that for you. I don't recall them right off the top of my head because I mean, they're there, but I don't need them. I can usually go to a job description, pick them out, pick out the tools, pick out what I'm looking for quicker than it would be for me to copy and paste the job description into the tool. But yeah, you can, or you can just do a control F and look for skills. That's usually what you're talking about. And almost every job description will say skills required or must haves or nice to haves, or if they walked on water, could turn bread into fish and water into wine, that type of stuff.
That would be that's an
I've
amazing.
never understood why the need for certain types of tools, but it seems to me like the time to open the tool and put in what you need, you can just do it yourself. And like I said, the tool is designed to help you do things faster. If I can do something faster without the tool, I'm not using the tool. So I hope that answered your question, but look under the writing and job description sections on the SSAR page. I believe there's a few that can do that.
Okay, cool. And if you have any additional questions, like if you need any clarification, just send it through. Um, are you ready for the next?
Seek Out has an AI called Robot that you can take your job description and stick it in there and it will find people based on it. But if you stick the entire job description in there, it pretty much ignores everything but the skills. So that might be close to what you're looking for.
And we've
Next.
also had a few. Well, we've had a few questions about your screen organizer there, the FVD speed dial. So I just thought I would put that one out there as well.
What about it?
Well, they just want to know what you're using there, so I just wanted to say it out
Oh,
loud. It's
this is,
FVD speed
yes, it's the speed dial, and I have it pretty well organized. You can see here based on different things. Remember that story I told you about comics? Well, there's my comic section. eBay, Amazon, I have all these different sections, and I just like to have things quick and organized. I don't like wasting time. There's my wife is up here with my 3 week old granddaughter, 4 weeks, well, a month old granddaughter. So, but yeah,
dial.
that's what I use them for. She's sleeping.
I love that tool. I actually use it myself.
Yeah, it's really cool. So go on.
Okay, so Matt says, any suggestions as how to access company voicemail directories that are now audio search enabled, as opposed to pressing the digits that have the letters that correspond to last names?
Usually there's a pattern you can put in that will get you access to the entire directory. It's usually star 411, I believe, and most companies, but not all, but most companies, it's a star 411, and it gets you access to the entire directory. I know I'm not going to mention names, but I know a certain fairly large online retailer that it works with. Um, but there's usually a pattern that will go ahead and get you in. You just got to figure out what it is. Um, Me personally, I mean, so I guess it depends on what are you trying to accomplish. If you're just trying to get to a specific person, then it shouldn't be an issue. If you're trying to just see who's in the whatever group, there are easier ways to find that out. I mean, discover.org has an org chart for most large companies. You can just go, and it's pretty accurate. You can just go on there and see the org chart. LinkedIn is actually creating an org chart functionality as well. Um, I don't know if you know, but when you lately when you connect with people, it's actually asking people, do you work for this person? Does this person work with you and stuff like that? Well, they're doing that to create an org chart functionality. So I mean, I hope that helps a little bit.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to send that through in chat, Matt. So hopefully that will help. Okay, and then this one's a good one. What are your top three sourcing tools? So you're not allowed to give us any more than three. I'm gonna put a cap on
That is not a fair statement because there's a lot of information required. Sourcing in the U.S. as opposed to sourcing in Europe. What industry? There are some variables in there. The answer to that is not the same depending on certain things. As an example, if I'm looking for nuclear engineers in Europe, there are certain tools that I wouldn't use that wouldn't be in my top three. But if I'm looking for Java developers in United States, there are different tools. So it's not such a cut and dry answer. But my top tools, and you're going to love this because you're not going to like this actually, I should say, it's going to be Boolean, X-ray, and my brain. And that
it.
covers everything you're looking for. Now, if you're
Thank you.
talking about the types of tools like seekouts and stuff like that, again, tough to say without knowing location and industry, but let's just say right now, um, for sourcing only, probably we're looking at Seekout, Luxosource, and then probably Rockstar Finder / Who Knows. They're kind of tied, so it's four. I'm sorry. Um, then just for pure sourcing, for scraping, it's going to be ZapInfo, Data and the Instant Data Scraper. And then for contact finding, just contact finding, not sourcing as well. It's probably Nemera, Swordfish, and JobJet. I hope that helps. Like I said, it's not a cut and dry answer because there's a lot of variables.
Okay, I sent that over
Between
in
us,
chat. So
go ahead.
I was just gonna let you know that that has been sent over in chat. So hopefully that helps the list. Are you ready for the next, or did you need to keep going?
No, I'm good. I just had to hand my granddaughter back to my daughter.
I can hear her. She sounds precious. Okay.
Yes.
Belinda says, Belinda says, how do you keep your pipeline clean in your ATS? There may be prospects that you're working with developing rapid and studying.
Okay, say
Does
that
that
one more time. I missed one
how
word
do,
in that sentence.
so how do you keep your pipeline clean in your ATS? There may be prospects that you're working with developing rapid and studying.
Um, well, I guess it defines what your definition of cleaning is. Deduping is one of the best ways to keep your database clean. And the problem when you dedupe is most ATS and CRMs deduping is not the best in the world. Meaning you can pick based on name or based on this or based on that, and if they're the same, you get rid of one or you combine them. I am not a big proponent for getting rid of anybody. So my preference is when I'm deduping is to combine. Basically, take them, put them together, and the other thing is when I dedupe, I don't just base it just on one piece of info. If the name's the same and this is the same, I usually like three pieces of data points. If those three data points are the same, or there's the same information, i.e., the name's the same, there's an email that's the same in both. Doesn't have to be the primary email secretary, but if the Hotmail is the same in both, as an example, and then one other data point, usually location. Um, I prefer combining. I do not like replacing. And the reason I don't like replacing is because you might be you might be replacing bad data with good data or good data with bad data with good data, whatever. I mean, good data with bad data. So if I have two profiles and the dedupe process based on three data points decide they're the same, I want to combine them. I don't want to lose data. So that's why most of the ATS CRMs and stuff that I like to deal with do not. If they only have three spots for emails and I have five emails, they don't get rid of the other two emails. They put them in a open text field that can be searched and looked at that could have emails, phone numbers, addresses. It could have a whole bunch of different stuff in there, but all the data is available and searchable. Luxo is a great example of that. Luxo does not get rid of data. When you dedupe and combine two profiles, all the data is maintained. And if it's data that there's no opening for, meaning like email, they only have a place for 3. That data is still available. It just goes into an open-ended text field that just keeps all the data for you. And I like that. The only way I want data removed is if the data is bad, but the problem is most ATS CRMs can't tell that. So that's another thing. That's something that's kind of got to be crowdsourced. As you're in there and looking, and if you notice and you check an email and it's bad, get rid of it. I mean, you almost got. I mean, there are some tools out there that can do it to a point, but they're not 100% accurate yet, and that's just because there's too many variables. But that's me. I hope I'm answering your question because I may have misunderstood it. I like to keep my data clean, but I don't like to get rid of data unless I know for a fact it's bad. Like one of those emails from me that said UK something, that's bad data. That I can get rid of. But all the rest of the emails, if I don't know for a fact they're wrong, I want to have them available to me because you just don't know. I have like 15 emails. If you were to get rid, and some of them I check more than others. So if you were to get rid of the wrong email, you might send me an email to something I only check once a month. Whereas if you kept one of the others, it might be something I check every day. So I'm not big. Data is our most precious resource. It's like gold. Half these tools out there are all based on data. Data is what they got. LinkedIn's a perfect example. It's a crowdsourced data site that has monetized our data that we provided. The more data they have, the more it's worth. So I'm not big on deduping and getting rid of data. I'm big on deduping and combining than deduping. Combine the two things. If these are the same, combine them and overwrite like data, but any unlike data, keep it anyway, if that makes sense. I hope that made sense. I hope that answered your question because I'm not sure if it did or not. But for me, it's really important about keeping the data clean. If the data is clean, the rest of it's a piece of cake.
Thank you. I think that's good. And if you need any clarification, just send that through.
Yeah, I hope I understood that correctly. I wasn't 100% sure I did, but I hope I did.
I think so. So, okay. So Barbara says, and are you good to keep going, Dean? I know.
Yeah, I can go for another 10 minutes or so.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not done with my
Barbara
question yet.
it's there's something going around. I know you said coffee, but the coughing, I just want to make sure you're okay. I've got it
Oh
too.
yeah. No, something went when my granddaughter came up. She kind of surprised me a little bit, and so something went down the wrong pipe.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Barbara says, do you have examples of what to ask someone when you are finding them instead of them knowing the job?
Um, okay, if I understand you correctly, I found somebody. I reach out to them, and I want to talk to them, but I don't want to let them know it's about a job. So if I
I
understood that correctly,
I think
is that
so.
okay? So I like to connect with people. So as an example, if I found somebody and let's say I found them and I found out that in my research of them, I found out that they have a patent for drones. I'm making this up as I go, by the way. I probably would read the patent, skimming through it, not read it actually, and find and then content about that. Now, how can I do that? He wrote a patent about a drone. Well, I have a drone. That's how I can. And so I will reach out and say, hey, I saw you wrote this patent about drone. I happen to have one. It's a so and so model. I was kind of wondering, how do you think that patent impacted this? And start talking to them about something totally different. It's like that story I told you about the person I hired. I connected with them about comics. I didn't connect with them about a job. You got to understand, humans are inquisitive. They want to know. They know something. When you send somebody an email and you're talking about comics, they're going to automatically want to know at some point what I do, how I found them, something. And as soon as this person found out, hey, you work for Microsoft, oh, so you're one of those guys like everybody else trying to contact me about a job. My response was, they're trying to contact you about a job? Okay, I'm talking about comics. What do you think they're going to do with Thor in the next comic, given the fact that he supposedly died at the hands of the Frost Giants? I mean, you have to know the Thor comics. But anyway, um, and I kept that going. But again, I know human nature enough to know about a day later, he said, okay, what are these people contacting about? Do you know? I go, well, hang on a minute. Let me look at my computer. I already know. And then I told him. And then I got him interested and then I got him hired. But I started talking about something totally different. But you got to understand human nature. Human nature is we are inquisitive and we always want to know the why behind everything. I mean, if we weren't an inquisitive species, we'd still be living in caves and wearing skins. We are inquisitive. We want to know. That's human nature. And you got to take a, I hate using the word taking advantage, but you got to use that to your advantage. And so I just write an email about something, praise them. I find that flattery is one of the best approaches out there. One of the things I used to do is, and I worked for HP at the time, I go, are you the Michael Jordan of developers? Now, if you don't know who Michael Jordan is, well, that's another issue. Michael Jordan is arguably the greatest basketball player ever to play the game. So I am flattering them. I am basically putting them in a box to their ego, flattering them into saying they're Michael Jordan. Now, come on. Of course, you're going to want to read it. My email was something to the effect is, um, my name is this person and I work here and I am looking to hire this position. I am not looking to recruit you. I am looking to learn more about it so I can do a better job. You are a recognized expert based on this white paper, this, and this. I would love to talk to you about it. And that's exactly what I do. And I was getting an 85% reply rate. And out of the 85% reply rate, 90% of the people wanted to talk to me. And out of the 90% of the people that talked to me, 82%, I believe, I ended up getting interested in the job. Doesn't mean they were the right person for the job, but at least they were interested. And I did make hires of it. So you got to look at the motivating factors for humans. Human beings have certain motivation factors: money, ego, love. Those are the three of the biggest motivating factors out there. Um, Almost any other motivating factor plays off of that, like not one telecommuting. Well, telecommuting plays off of that, believe it or not. Telecommuting plays into the ego a little bit because not everybody's allowed to telecommute, and you being able to say you telecommute actually is an ego trip, believe it or not. I've seen it at play in bars. It's amazing how, hey, I get to telecommute. Hey, so there's a whole bunch of variables in there. Um, and then of course other base things, food, water. I mean, you need to understand the hierarchy of what motivate human motivation, the higher and the lower hierarchies. There's different levels, and there's books written about it. You can find some listed on the SSAR page, and then you just pick the ones. Like I said, for me, the biggest one I like to use is ego, because everybody's got an ego. It's the easiest one to do, and it's generic enough that it really doesn't matter. I mean, money could you could money, stock, there's so many variables in it, but ego is ego. It's open and shut. Everybody wants to be this. Everybody has an ego about something. It's the easiest thing. It's kind of like playing poker and looking for a tell. The ego is probably the easiest tell of any for any human being. So I hope
You have
that
to be
answers the
careful with
question.
love.
Well, that's
Thank you.
my
You
granddaughter
ready?
just gave. Yeah, my granddaughter just
Oh,
gave me a Tums for some reason. All right, go on.
oh, nice, nice. Well, we actually have quite a few people who have left and asked
Yep,
questions, so I'm just going to go down the line of people who are here. At
yep.
the end of this, if you have time, Mark has actually asked if you discuss your book, but do you mind if I give you these other questions first, or do you want to go over your book first?
Which book? I have two.
Uh-oh. Okay, Mark, ask us which book, and I'll relay that over to Dean. So
Okay.
next, Kim says, what sites would you suggest for sourcing for an imaging equipment service specialist?
An imaging systems recording
An
specialist.
an imaging equipment service specialist.
I wouldn't do any site. I would go ahead and target companies. Go
Target
ahead and
companies.
yeah, find the companies that would have these types of people. Imaging system service specialist, imaging, taking a wild guess here, and I could be 100% wrong. I would think most geospatial companies would have imaging. Most, depending on what kind of imaging, most satellite oriented companies are going to have imaging. Just off the top of my head, I would target companies. I wouldn't target sites so much as companies. Um, and then start looking in the companies and trying to figure out there are tools out there that can tell you who works for who works at a particular place. So let's hang on a minute. I'll give you an example. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me go and
And
search.
just so you know, she came in and said radiology imaging, in case that
Ah,
helps you.
my granddaughter. Okay, yeah, that actually does make a difference. The other thing you might want to consider doing is targeting colleges, because if I'm not mistaken, those types of people have a specific type of degree. So you could target colleges and target the alumni. Radiological image. God, I can't spell. Um, so the top 10 diagnostic imaging device manufacturers. Okay, let's go there. That sounds fairly familiar. I'm not sure I'm 100% in the right thing. Okay, GE Healthcare. Okay, so let's go. Oops, let's go to really GE Healthcare. Do a quick Google search. Find the GE Healthcare site and wait for it to pull up, and then go into. Nope, that's not it. Oh, that's the one. Am I not signed in? Ah, darn it. I'm not signed in. Hang on a minute. I don't like staying signed in. Just oh, that's a. Could have sworn that was the password. Okay, it doesn't like that password. Fine. Try that one. Okay, you know what? I'll figure it out later. There are tools like that one where if you're on a site, it'll tell you a little bit about the company, but then it'll also list the employees of that company, and you can actually search by title. So you would just search by title. You just search by title and find it. For some reason, it's not letting me log in. It could be down, or it could be I just messed up and don't remember the password right now off the top of my head. Um, but that's what I would do. I would target the companies. I would target colleges. Hang on a minute, and I'll give you a tool for the college wise. Uh, this. Wrong one. That's Microsoft's alumni program. Yay. This particular site right here will list every college, and you can look at all the alumni from any college from anywhere. So I'd look at the colleges that give a degree related that would be relevant, and start looking at the alumni groups and picking people, because the people will have their name, where they work, that kind of info. So that would be really good. I would target hospitals, believe it or not, but I would target the companies themselves. So as an example, let's do this. Let's see what would happen if we did. I'm just doing this quickly. I'm going to pick on LinkedIn only because it's the quickest one to pick on. Not that I'm saying I would go here necessarily. Um, and blah, 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 what did we say the thing was here real quick? Come on. Okay, radiologic imaging, radiological. Okay, I'm not sure that word's going to actually do what I want it to do, but we'll use it for now, only because it's a word. Um, radiological probably shouldn't be radiological. Should be something else. Somebody's at my front door. Around around 10, and I think it was present if I'm not mistaken. And there's 40 people that GE Healthcare and have the word radiological in there. Probably not the best word to search, but I just did it really quickly. Um, but my point being, if and doing it quickly without really any research, that's not bad. I'm sure if you did the research, you put in the right words, you'd get more. That's an example. You could do the same thing on Facebook. The other thing you could do, oh, here we are, and I just did this earlier, is hang on a minute. Remember when I did the contact out and the Zoom info searches? Do those. I would go ahead and try those searches as well. But I would target companies and hospitals and stuff like that. You might try also find out if they have any kind of conferences, and then check out meetup groups, conferences like and stuff like that as an example. Let's see if I can find. There it is. So let's see if I come in here, and let's see what happens if I get rid of Java and type in radiological. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of radiological conventions and stuff like that, radiology conventions all over the place. And so I mean, here's a radiology convention, and here are people who attended it. And so once you got that, you got everything in. Now you're probably going to say, well, how am I supposed to find these people? Well, in this case, you got a name, you got where they work, and you got a picture. You can go ahead and do a Google image search and realize we have a name. So let's go ahead and grab the name, copy, do the Google image search. It's going to say something stupid like nurse, which is what Google does. We're going to put in the name and let it go. And then we have, she's on the board of directors. We have her Facebook page, and I think you get the general idea. Out of that entire list of people, every single one of them, including the ones that only have a name, can be found. You just got to know how. And on my YouTube page is a whole bunch of videos on how to do it. So I hope that
Kim
helps.
said, yes, she said thank you.
Yep.
Just sent through a big thank you. Okay, so do you have time for another question or do you need to get off? I think
Let's
we've
do
done
one.
that 10 minutes.
Let's do one more, and then I'll do the book, and then you can just email me the questions.
Okay, cool. So, what are the best sources to source .NET/Microsoft technology only in Chicago other than LinkedIn?
GitHub, Stack Overflow. Go on my SSAR page, look under the GitHub thing. There's a bunch of different tools for GitHub, Stack Overflow. Excuse me, just to name a few right there. Any of the code repository sites, and there's boatloads of code repository sites you can find on the SSAR page. Let's see what else. Same thing. You can do the same thing with schedule.com and put in C# and then put in Chicago, and you'll look at, or meetup groups in Chicago. Let's see if there are any meetup groups in Chicago that, oh God, you know what? I just dawned on me. I should have done this via X-ray, not going into meetup. I don't know why I did that. That was stupid. Site colon meetup, I believe it's .com, Chicago C#. Yep, there's a C# web developers in Chicago. So if I go into the C# web group in Chicago, blah, 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 and then I go into members, you get a list of all these members somewhere in here. See all these members. You can go into each one, find contact info. You can use Zap info. You can use Swordfish. You can use to find what you want. Example, we'll go to Jose L. View full profile. Click here to see my full member profile. Okay, oh, there we go. His name is Jose. He's in Chicago. He's part of these other groups, and there's a picture. Pretty sure I've already shown you guys how to use a picture to find people. So and he has interests. So this is other information that can help you find him and narrow it down. Pretty sure you won't have much of a problem. I think you get the general idea.
Cool. All of that is going over in private message. So there you are. Okay. Okay. So I guess Mark came back and he said the book he's looking for is OSINT for the staffing world.
Oh, okay. So OSINT for the staffing world is a book I wrote that's about OSINT, open source intelligence, and it is it's basically a beginner's book for people in recruiting and staffing to learn about OSINT so they fully understand it. And the reason is because the words being right there, excuse me, is being bandied about quite badly by people. There is parts of OSINT that's really good for you, and there's parts not, and there's things you need to do to protect yourself from the dark side, so to speak. I hate using a Star Wars reference. Um, so open source intelligence, which came about in the 1800s, was used very heavily in World War II. And what's really interesting is most recruiters, sourcers are using it all the time. Facebook's an OSINT tool, but it's not a high level OSINT tool. It's what we call an O1 tool, which means Facebook is an above the surface OSINT tool. And it's a level 1 because all you need is general information that's easily, readily available to go ahead and use it. So let me give you an example of what I mean about above, below, and all the other things that go along with it as soon as this thing opens. And there are tools out there that are much more in depth than what Facebook does. And I'll give you an example of one of those too. An example would be a tool called Creepy, whereby you can put in somebody's Facebook or Twitter handle, and then you can go ahead and see everywhere that they've ever been. In fact, to give you an idea, I don't know if I have it in here. I may and I may not. Just give me a minute. Come on, good Lord. I'm showing way too much stuff. Okay, so this will not be creepy, but this is a different tool. So as an example of what a really solid, good OSINT tool is, this is a site called Photo Forensic. I put a picture URL in there, and this is what I got back, which included the name of the person who took the picture, the location they took the picture, the date, the time, their email, and their phone number, all in what's called metadata. And that's a deep OSINT tool. That's an example of an OSINT tool that can do. That's not Facebook. Facebook is a simple tool that does nothing else but allows you to put in regular information to find out other information. This is the web. When I mean O1, that's level S is also called level 0. This is where recruiters spend their life. But look at everything's below it. You're looking at less than 2% of the web, and look at everything below it. OSINT tools can get you below it. Now, granted, you don't want to be everywhere. Some of these places is where you start seeing human trafficking. You probably don't want to go there. But some of these places can be quite interesting. An example is somewhere on one of those sites is where I found a data set. And the data set is the data set that had a listing of all the email addresses of people who joined LinkedIn 2015 and before. All I need is their member ID. And as you can see, I just put 24 in there, and there are thousands upon emails of people. My email's in there, people who joined. And I found it going to a place on the net that you guys, I actually found it in this level. So OSINT tools are two categories. You have the ones that require standard information, name, address, things that are really easy to find. And then the other set of tools, which is a 2, are the tools that require non-standard information, things like usernames, IP addresses, things like that. And so Facebook is a O1 tool. It works up here, and it requires just a name. It's a really low level OSINT tool, to be quite honest. It's free, it's easy to get access to. When you interview somebody, you're using O1 tools. You're using your communication speech to gain information. When you start getting into 2-level tools and you get lower, that's when you get in some really, really cool tools that can do some amazing, amazing things. And so that's basically, I explain all of that to you in the book. Without going into a lot of detail, I mean, just overview. And I explained to you how to stay out of trouble, about why you should use a VPN, what a VPN is, why you should use a sandbox, what it is, why you should use a burner computer and what it is. And I just give you a nice overview so that when you decide to get further into OSINT or you buy Michael's book, you aren't totally overwhelmed and lost. And more importantly, when someone comes out and says, hey, I found this great OSINT tool and you can use an IP address to do this, you know, one, what they're talking about and what kind of tool it is. Number two, you know you probably shouldn't be using it. Because as recruiters, we have no reason to be messing with IP addresses. So when you're messing with IP addresses, you're getting further in the net than you really want to go as a recruiter or sourcer. Now, as an OSINT expert or a hacker, that's different. But we are not, well, let me take that back. Most recruiting sources are not hackers and shouldn't be hackers.
That's like the perfect ending line. You shouldn't be hackers.
Well, some of us are, but most of us aren't, and most of us shouldn't be.
We have a quick one-word question, if you don't mind it real quick. It's just, are you using the free or paid version of Zap Info? And then that's it.
Number one, that's not a one-word question. That's a one-word answer.
One-word answer. Sorry.
And it's
One
not
word.
going to be the answer he thinks, but the answer is both.
Oh,
My company has paid, I have free.
okay, cool. Well, thank you. All right. Well, are you ready to get off and relax for the rest of the day?
I'm ready to go put some rum in my coffee. No, I
Thank you
really
so
can't
much for
actually. I have another meeting in a half an hour and then I have a doctor's appointment, so I'm going to be out the
there are
door here
no rules
shortly.
about rum and meetings or doctor's appointments. You're
It's it's after 1 o'clock. I'm good.
good. Thank you so much for this, Dean. This was fantastic. So much information. And thank you to everybody who hung in with us. We still have quite a few people on.
Yeah,
So,
40.
yes, yes. Thank you so much. We really appreciate everyone being here with us today. We love doing these webinars with Dean, and there will be more. We have, what, three more to go for the, or
Yep.
we have two more to go with Dean. Yeah.
No, should be
So,
three, one a quarter, so it should be three more.
okay, so three more. I'm ahead of ourselves. It's been such a crazy year so
Here's
far.
one thing I will tell you guys. Email Ashley or contact Ashley if you like this type of format, just answering and asking questions, or if you prefer going back to where I'm just showing you a bunch of stuff that may or may not be helpful. Because I actually enjoyed this one more than the ones where I actually am showing stuff. But I don't care either way. Whatever helps y'all, I'm good with.
I think it was great. It was great. So, yeah, definitely let me know. Give me some feedback. Ashley at recruitingdaily.com, and we'll let Dean know. I do have a few questions here that I will send you, Dean.
Yep.
I'll just have to make sure I have the right emails for those.
Yep.
And we are at 3:40. So I
Yep.
think I'm going to let everybody off the hook.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you,
Later.
everyone. Check in with us next week. We have a Motone webinar. So
Oh
we want
yay.
to see you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye, Dean. Have a great day.
You
Bye,
too.
everybody.